What's going on, you loyal listeners? Thank you for tuning in to the L Squared podcast. I'm your host here, Luke Larson, and joining me today, as per the usual, my lovely and loquacious special guest who will be assisting me in leisurely launching you into levity old legs.
Hello! How we doing?
Not great, and that's because
Uh-oh.
we have a mutiny on our hands.
Uh-oh.
Old Legs
time.
has conspired against me.
It's time.
And he brought Backup to do it. So here, as a co-conspirator in this mutiny,
yes,
friend of the show, popcorn
Yes.
farmer himself, Tyler Burdettedog Backus.
We're coming for you, Luke. You better be ready.
Welcome.
Well, I'm not ready, but my time has come, and I'll try and get through it as peacefully as possible without getting a knife in the gullet.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I mean, but okay, so what are we doing today? Why is there a mutiny?
Okay, so you guys have kidnapped the show and forced me.
Well, I mean, I'm just going off of what the listeners want, and they've been asking for it.
I've been listening
to the loyal listeners, and I've heard their request many times.
I just don't think that's true.
They're like, hey, we want a 10-part anime roundup. We want an anime summit.
No.
We want you to dive into. We want you to expand your horizons. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is an all-inclusive podcast.
There has not been one loyal listener to reach out and say they want anything to do with anything related to Japanimation.
You need to listen to your fans, man. I don't know. It's blowing up.
I tell you what. So we're going to do some anime today. It's been a long time coming. We've sort of teetered on the outskirts of it. I would say definitely a limiting factor is the fact that Luke does not watch anime. So you could say that's sort of kind of slowed the train as far as being able to have this conversation. And that's why I so respectfully asked Tyler to come on, because I respect him as an anime fan. I look mostly through his social medias, and I see a lot of good things coming out when he's not playing Animal Crossings. And
man, you really are paying attention.
And I just gotta say, I respect your anime fandom, and I'm excited to hear your opinions today. Well, and really get into it, because I mean we're diving into like a whole genre that is so large and vast that I think maybe we should preface this, and I don't want to speak for the group here, and I'm not speaking for Luke because again,
thank you.
But I'm not like I've watched a lot of anime, but I'm like by no means like otaku level. So I think that like my knowledge of the genre is still pretty baseline, and I may or may not have some kind of like boomer normie takes. So feel free to call me out on any of that if that comes out here.
Definitely. I always feel like there was, like you were a fan of anime. At one point there was a time period where you could have been a fan of anime. But now if you're a fan of anime, I think a lot of people just assume that means you literally watch every episode that ever comes out in a whole season, which is hundreds of shows.
That's what I do.
And so we should clarify that we are not fully in debt to anime, but we both have our own tests, I think, or our own tastes, and I think we're both going to be bringing a little something to the table that we didn't see coming, and offer a little diversity for this channel, I guess.
So this is what I bring to the table from my anime experience. So, the three animes that I would say I
can't wait for every two of them not to count, but keep going.
Well, there's four actually, but we'll say the main ones. We'll say Avatar: The Last Airbender, classic anime.
Strong. Yep.
Classic anime. And then it's a tie between Yu-Gi-Oh, obviously, and then Dragon Ball Z is, I think, most Americans' introduction to Japanimation as a genre. And I have a funny story to tell everybody, because I've haven't had any other platform to tell this story actually, but I was wearing a Dragon Ball Z t-shirt
Okay.
when I was redoing my kitchen. Now, bear with me, loyal listeners.
Okay.
But
It's definitely a Krillin shirt, right?
No, it was one with Goku was in the front, but it was kind of like one of those Marvel shirts where they have all the characters, on there. So it's like Goku and then the dragon, and then Krillin was on there, and then a bunch of, whatever their names
You
are.
definitely relate with Krillin the most, right?
Shut up. No, I do not.
Kind of a Krillin in real life.
Look at this. Look at all this hair. You can't say that to me.
No, you got the Yamcha flow going. I respect it.
Shut up.
I respect it.
Anyway, I'm like a Super Saiyan 3 with this hair. TBH. But anyway, so I'm all dirty and gross and sweaty, and I left to go to the gas station in town here to just get something. And I walk in, and I'm kind of out of it. I'm all dusty and gross, and like I'm going to check out, and the gal working she's probably like in her 40s, maybe late 30s.
Okay.
But she looks at my shirt and she's like, "Oh, hey, Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball Z." And I just said, "Yeah, it's a remnant of my youth." And then I just walked out. Was like, "What the fuck was that, Luke?"
I'm not sure that's love, but keep going.
That's it. That's the whole story. I was like, "Where the fuck did that come from?" Yes, a remnant of my youth.
It's probably the most annoying response you could have possibly given.
And it came from within, so that tells you something. It's in there.
Did you go home later that night and throw on your record of hold on.
My record of what?
Sorry, there was a message on Zoom. Sorry. Scratch
We'll cut it out.
It said, yeah. It said like something upgraded, and I got nervous about the meeting. But
change.
We'll
I don't want to change. No.
No change. No change.
I want to stay the same.
Okay. You know what? I think that's a great story.
Thank you.
We're not going to be talking about Dragon Ball Z today because that's not. It's consider that a merime.
Yeah, that's a good classification.
But it is a lot of people's springboard into the genre. I think a pretty standard good guy, beat 'em up, whatever. I love the genre. I love Dragon Ball Z, but not exactly what we're going to be touching on today. Good try, Luke.
So let me ask you guys.
Okay.
I want to hear the remnants of your youths. So tell me how you guys started with anime.
Well, again, I guess, you could technically say it all started, with Pokemon, but kind of like what Jordan said.
Old Legs. His name is Old Legs.
Yeah, Old Legs. Dude, did I just break the immersion?
Yeah, good Lord.
That's very, was established, I guess you could say, in American culture. So we are going to scratch Dragon Ball Z and like Pokemon, things like that. And so where I kind of first dove in, I'd say, and we're talking about going subs, not dubs, that kind of stuff. My first watch, I guess, was Attack on Titan, which if you ask a lot of people, more maybe new members, I'm sure a lot of people would agree that Attack on Titan was kind of a jumping point for a lot of folks. That it's a pretty big series that is also finally now finishing strong as well. I just feel like a lot of people kind of jumped on at that point, and a lot of people from, I guess, maybe like a late 2000s, 2010 at least point jumped in on like Attack on Titan as anime kind of coming around, becoming maybe more normal of a thing. It's definitely become a lot more popularized right now, and I think a lot of people jumping on random shows now. But there was a time period where people weren't really watching anime, at least the group that I was in. And then Attack on Titan hit, and people trickled in, and then a bunch of people, a bunch of people just kind of branched off from shows from there. And that's kind of, I guess, my origin story on jumping into the Japanimation universe.
Yeah, let's hear Old Legs as the remnant of his youth.
Okay. So mine is sort of, because so I'm a bit older than
So much
as the title preludes, Old Legs, a little older here. And so basically my introduction to anime that wasn't like Dragon Ball Z or anything on like Toonami was randomly watching either like Inuyasha on Adult Swim or Rurouni Kenshin. And it was basically, I was like 13 or 14. This is before TiVo, and like probably like before good internet or like being able to torrent and stream stuff. So it was really limited. Like I was a stupid kid. So I had no sense of like, oh, Inuyasha, that's a cool show. It's on at so-and-so time. I would happen to turn on the TV and be on and be like, oh, damn, this is sick. And so I didn't really understand like a story, but it was kind of enough of a Shonen Jump series where you're just kind of like, you could flip on any episode and kind of understand what's going on. And it was more violent than anything else I'd seen on TV, really, that wasn't Dragon Ball Z that everyone was watching. So I was like, damn, this is kind of cool. But I would say my real fandom really started to take off in high school with sort of like the dawn of the internet and being able to actually okay, so this is another kind of interesting caveat, and I'm curious to hear what Tyler has for his opinion. But
You don't want to hear my opinion?
I could really, again, we're just using you for your clout right here, your listeners, the platform. You're providing a platform for our voice, which I think is important. Okay. But so, and this is going to maybe make me sound like sort of a boomer or a normie, but another caveat that I needed early on was I needed a dub of an anime. I could not watch the sub. I definitely couldn't get into a series if I could only watch the sub. So I needed the dubbed version, which was really hard to come by in like the mid 2000s. I remember just like seeing the first season of Full Metal Alchemist, and I was like, dang, that's sick. And then I was like going and looking for the second season, and I distinctly remember this is like a very early 2000s like internet story, but I was searching for it, whatever, and trying to find it. I'm like, Full Metal Alchemist dub, just like typing in the Google machine and going onto some crazy .co anime.web site that probably gave me 100 viruses, but I was like, sweet, we can watch the show for free, whatever. But I could not find the dub for season 2. And I remember searching all over online, and I remember like one specific comment post, and it was like, where can I find so-and-so? Somebody had asked the question, where's the dub of Full Metal Alchemist season 2? And the highest rated comment was, you'll have a better time learning Japanese, or it'll be faster to learn Japanese than to wait for the dub to come out. And he was right, because I didn't see season 2 for like 3 more years. I forgot what happened in season 1.
Wow.
And so that's what it was like for a long time. But I actually feel like we're in sort of a golden age now where you have a lot of streaming services that it's easily available. There's like, if you
Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't do the sub, I mean, there's like simultaneous dubs that happen along with new episodes, and so I've gotten better with that. But that's just sort of like my origin, and that kind of is what brought me into kind of the mainstream of seeking this stuff out. So
yeah, it's definitely way easier nowadays. I mean, you have access to any show coming out in Japan, basically, in today's day and age. Back in the day, it was just kind of like the big boys, that you could find for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like we always had One Piece, Dragon Ball, Naruto. That stuff was always around. Sometimes not fully dubbed or anything like that, but now, yeah, there's stuff that gets an English dub even a week after it comes out in Japan, and just small shows and everything. So now's the time for sure.
Right.
You don't have to scour the internet for things anymore. Everything's accessible. So we're living in a good time, Luke. I'll tell you that much.
That doesn't make it worth it, does it? Isn't most of the appreciation from isn't it the journey, not the destination? Isn't that what they say?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm just saying it's getting easier for you. So
yeah,
no
I mean, there
excuse.
was some real payoffs, like actually being able to find a show and watching some like blurry version of episode 16 of Evangelion. But I mean, I don't know.
You can still hop on those torrent sites, Luke, and still try to find it, and still get all those viruses.
I'm sure
that
they're still
everyone used
around.
to.
Yeah, Tyler's absolutely right. You can still do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, you want that grind, it's still out there.
Like I don't like watching my anime in HD
full
and
HD instantly. I'd rather just search for it for hours, maybe even days, and go down loopholes and rabbit holes with pop-ups at every turn.
It's still out there.
Yeah. I mean, so that's kind of where I sit, I guess, as far as like my backstory, like my shitty anime backstory. So it's maybe a little bit less tragic than a lot of the anime characters that we've come to grow and love, but there was some struggle there. But so I guess I don't know. So where do we stand as far as like where is the current climate of anime? Like what are you watching right now? I know we want to sort of maybe get to some recommendations both for our listeners that are anime fans, and then maybe B, which I don't really think exists. Luke, pay attention. This is for you. For the fans who maybe want to get into anime. So but where are we at right now? What are you watching?
Right now? Oh man. They're kind of, I'd say I watch, well, at least for a general audience, they're probably more called offshoot shows. I don't know if a lot of people know, but right now we just ended up watching season 1 of a show called No Known Biori, which is just the classic show of a couple high school girls all going to school, living their life, going home at the end of the day, and then the next day they go to school again. A slice of life anime.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Sounds amazing.
I don't know. I have such a soft spot for slice of life animes, so that's usually where I'm always at. But for a show that other people would actually maybe be familiar of is I keep up to date with like My Hero Academia, and also been trying to keep up with Boruto. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, so that's interesting because I have tried to do the slice of life, but I can't I can't get into it, and I don't know if I'm like.
Man, I'm in it.
We always joke about just the peaceful, tranquil slice of life. Our other resident Uncle Chuck, who is another avid anime watcher out there, but I don't know. Is there a good launching pad for me? So this could be for Luke, for you too, since I assume you don't watch too many of the slice of life.
That's usually when I'm Nope.
I do have a top recommended slice of life that's basically, a straight kind of wild comedy at the same time. So it would be a fantastic jump on point. And I honestly think that everyone should watch this show because I thought it was fantastic. And Perfect. That's called Nichijo, which in Japanese, if I'm not mistaken, that means everyday life.
So it's the most slice of life,
yeah,
life anime
if you
there
need to
is.
go bare bones,
real meta.
then go straight for the real word. But that show is hilarious. Honestly, some episodes had me laughing all the way through. That's a fantastic show that I think is only locked up in in Funimation now, which is kind of sad. But that's a fantastic show that I think everyone could enjoy.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So I'm taking notes. I got it down. I will put it in my queue. Luke, also do the same.
Yep. Let me just grab a pen here.
Yep.
Every on the day. Yep. Got it.
So
I'll hit you up in a week, Luke. I'll figure out how you liked episode 1. So.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I like that. I like that we have different. So I guess I can just maybe go into before, because I do want to talk a little bit of My Hero Academia, because that's a show that I think is really good.
Yeah.
And it's not normally a show that I would like, and it almost feels like a show that I may or may not be aged out of.
Yeah, sure.
And so I guess for my tastes, I tend to lean more towards kind of the either like the kind of old school anime, I guess classics, what you would say, or just sort of like stuff that's more like brainless, mindless, any sort of like action. One Punch Man is one that I kind of like. The thing on Netflix, Baki. I'm like pretty into Baki. And it's like kind of like back to like the whole thing where I started, where it's just this like crazy violent thing. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is another one too,
sure. Of course,
where it sort of does all of my favorite things in Dragon Ball Z, where they like explain the move that the guy is about to do to defeat you. And I think it's so funny. Like, it's so self-serious, but at the same time, it's kind of a joke. And I just find it endlessly entertaining. So I sort of have to gravitate back towards either like action or, I'm never not down for like a good magical girl, sci-fi, or any sort of like Gundam type big robot show. So I don't know. But I've never ever been able to get into the slice of life. So that's interesting. I'm gonna take that recommendation. I'm gonna run with it. I'll see. I'll let you know what I think.
Yeah, you see, I think that is funny because obviously a lot of people think action when they think of anime, especially because that's what America has always had, with like the classic shows that got put on Cartoon Network, and if you've gone to Toonami and whatnot, if you went that far growing up or whatever. But those are always just kind of, I guess, those mindless shows that, like I say, that I watch. But when I actually like sit down and want to watch anime, it always just seems to fall back into a slice of life for me. So that's exactly where I'm at.
I love it. Luke,
did we mention what your current watch list consists of right now?
Oh, okay. So, I'm sort of ashamed to say that I haven't really. Maybe it's just that I haven't seen anything that's great. As I say, like, new episodes of Baki came out. I'd like that. But I've been in a little bit of a slump lately, and it's been a little bit depressing. With HBO Max coming out, I've been kind of running through all the Studio Ghibli stuff. But as we discussed earlier, so anyone that's out there and waiting for us to talk about, Princess Mononoke, which I watched last night and kills me. That movie is devastating for me. Or any of the other kind of bigger. We're not going to do movies, so no Akira, no Ghost in the Shell, no Shrek. But I've been in a little bit of slump, I'm not gonna lie, and I don't know if I've really been moved by anything in a while.
Yeah, this whole quarantine time that we're kind of in and or at least it previously was in, would be like the perfect time, you'd think, to sit down
Right.
and knock out some shows. But we honestly haven't done much either, so there's not much on like the current watch list.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just been doing other things, I guess, instead. And
Yeah,
getting
it's
further
sort of
behind
sad
in
for
anime,
me
but
because anime isn't out of my life because I still like sort of my routine is that I fall asleep to anime, and this is like I don't like this is probably like my like I can't remember things and like just my brain is just addled with uh just ridiculousness, but uh it's this really fascinating thing. So I need like a specific type of anime that's not too good, which Netflix has a lot of, and it can't be like too overbearing like colors wise, so it can't like be like waking me up at night.
yeah.
But yeah, there's like a couple of them on there. Like the Seven Deadly Sins is one that I just
Sure.
will just put me out within like an episode. I think it's one of the worst animes I've ever seen. I'm not a fan of it. I think like it's not good. All of the Sword Art ones on Netflix are just perfect like sleep fodder.
Yeah, they can be pretty good sleepers.
So it's weird if you go through like my Netflix like recommendations, the algorithm is just it's all it is anime, and I think I've maybe watched like the first 6 episodes of every single thing on there, and
Yeah.
so it's weird because it's like I haven't seen anything in a while that's really been like my jam, but it's still kind of constantly in my life, which is maybe not the best thing, but
Yeah.
I want to get back to My Hero Academia because that is a newer show that I think is noteworthy, and it's a show that I didn't think that I could ever really get back into, as far as just like the kind of standard like shoujo, like you have a righteous hero and you have a bunch of his friends and cool villains and
formula that's worked a million times.
So, a million times. And I don't know how much mileage I really have for it because I'm already starting to slow down a little bit where I'm like, I hit this point with these shows where all of a sudden there's 100 characters and I know none of them are going to die. And it just kind of kills me. And I sort of need that sense of closure, and it's really, really hard to come by with these shows. But again, I will say that My Hero Academia is done so well that it still holds my attention. There's some of the real heartfelt moments with Midori, and like just he wants to punch him so hard. It just like it kills me every time. I don't know what it is, but it sets this thing off me. Luke, what do you think?
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced academia.
How about the main character, Luke? You want to pronounce that one the correct way too?
It's Toyota.
That does bring me up to a question. Do you watch majority of stuff in subbed or dubbed?
I've been trending towards sub.
Yeah.
Usually when I start a series, I might start with the dub just to kind of see if I like it. But I have been trending towards sub, and it's like a kind of like boring argument that's been out there for a long time. Oh, the sub's way better. It's like, in most cases it is because there's like 10 different voices that are used for all of the American animes. So
that's for sure.
There is a little bit of overlap there, but yes, I do kind of delve into the sub more often than I have in the past. So yeah.
I've like fully, I don't know, gone into, well, I guess mainly because my main platform is Crunchyroll or something like that.
Shout out.
And so I
sponsored for this episode.
I've kind of honestly forgotten that a lot of these shows do get dubs. And usually when someone wants, I was talking with one of my friends recently that was trying to get into Naruto, and then he was just like, but where do I watch it? You know, it only ends here. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, the whole thing is on Crunchyroll. It's all up there. And I'm like, oh, that's right. There's still a lot of people that are only searching for dubs. So
I know there's going to be a whole plethora of people. I mean, they just put One Piece on Netflix, and it's a paltry 109 episodes. And I'm just
oh my gosh.
And like for any otaku that just like, I could do 109 episodes in a day. Like that's, you know, compared to like, I don't know, is there over 1,000 One Piece episodes?
Not yet, but I think they're at like
like 900s, right?
or 900s. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yep. Let me just jump in here for a second. Let's just jump in.
Are you about to tell us what your favorite arc of One Piece is here?
Yeah, because there's a lot.
No. That's one of the biggest detractors for me. I'm sure it's for a lot of people too. It's like, why would I ever start? I mean, they're never going to stop making it. Almost 1,000 episodes of
Eventually, they'll stop making One Piece.
I already don't watch TV. I mean, what am I? There's absolutely no way I could ever get into anime. That right there. I mean, my anxiety just peaked right there just by that.
All right. Well, if you're looking for something to slowly ease you into like the Shonen jumps, Naruto and Naruto Shippuden is only like 700 episodes.
Yeah.
And there's some filler that you can skip. So I think you can trim it down to like 500, 600 episodes.
The best I can do is 22.
That's an easy one.
Give me 22 and I'll
22?
Give it a shot.
Okay,
I got plenty of my slice of life that'll get you to 22.
You're gonna enjoy some of my recommendations here because I have them tailored to just your aversion to TV in general.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, it's you're right, Luke. You are right that
yes.
I mean, I feel like like myself included. I had a buddy who he used to watch One Piece every summer, like all the episodes, and I was like, I respect you. Like,
was it Brad Jeff?
But I mean, hey, I mean, you gotta, you know, maybe you turn on the first episode. It's like, oh yeah, wonder if Luffy's gonna be the king of the pirates. Like, I gotta find out.
Hey, you know, when some of those final boss fights take 8 episodes to finally land that last punch, you know, you are invested. You'll sit there and you'll blow through like 12 episodes when you only thought that you were just going to wrap up the fight in like 2. And so all of a sudden, boom, 12 more episodes done. Boom, boom, boom. You're just flying through all 900 episodes. So I think you can do it, Luke.
And I'll admit, I mean, I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to One Piece. I've not seen through the whole thing. Honestly, I think Luffy is it's a curious main character because his powers aren't like super cool, like unless he like finds some more devil fruit and he like starts shooting like Kamehameha waves or something like that. But like for a guy that's just stretchy and he just has like the sort of like I guess it's like sort of like the iconic dumbfound look where he just kind of stares like 1,000 yards into you and sort of just like doesn't listen to anything that you're saying. Like, I get that. I get the allure of the character, but it's a funny sort of, I mean, compared to like Naruto, who's just truly overpowered in every instance. And you're like, okay, what? Here we go. Like, when's the hidden chakra coming out? But, getting
One
into
Piece
series,
is kind of like the perfect anime of like, well, he's just Rubber Man. Like, what's he gonna do? And most of the time, you feel like Luffy is underpowered for a fight, but somehow triumphs through. Where Naruto, I agree with that. He's just like, well, he's gonna figure out a way no matter what. So
he sort of has like Naruto. It kind of has the Goku problem where he's just unlimited power, really. But
I understood that reference.
Hey, perfect.
Yeah, I'm back.
We'll get you there. We're gonna bring you in as much as we can, Luke.
Great, thank you guys.
So
you know, before we get too far too, I do kind of want to quiz you on some terminology, Luke.
On me?
Yeah, because I'm probably gonna be throwing out some terms when we get into recommendations. And I just want to, I'm sure you're already there with us.
Yep.
But I just want to double check here.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
Yep. That's a great call.
Sure.
So let's start off with what even, a lot of people should know. And that's the term waifu. Do you know what the waifus are there, Luke?
Yes.
Okay, I'd love to hear it.
One question at a time, please. Waifu would be your boo, right? Your bae.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like that would imply that waifu exists in real life. You could have like a waifu like body pillow.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Technically, I guess, if we want to get technical, it is a fictional character.
Fictional character. So it doesn't actually exist in real life, because I think that's maybe what you're getting at.
But you do have a romantic affection for her or something, and you always want to protect her.
You can't marry your waifu.
Are you saying not in real life is it not in the life of the anime universe in which it takes place?
Correct.
Because technically none of this anime is in real life, just so you guys know. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Your waifu can be real, though, right?
Yeah, you just said it couldn't.
Yeah.
But your
Amazon,
waifu can't be a real person.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You can't like the nice lady that you met at the gas station. Like, she can't become your waifu.
Yeah. She has to be born in the anime verse,
right?
I'd say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a hentai.
Well, I guess you could have in the hentai universe too.
All right, we're just gonna jump into the hentai discussion.
Wait a little bit.
Yeah. Well, followed suit then is husbando too, and that's just the male version. So we'll just cover that one here for you right off the bat.
Okay.
This term was already thrown out. How about the term otaku? You have at least a guess?
Can you use it in a sentence?
Okay, let's see. How about that guy thinks that he has 5 waifus, but he's really just a massive otaku? I don't know. That's probably a horrible sentence. Let me just move that one up here. It's a man who is obsessed, basically, with shutting out culture.
He's obsessed with shutting out culture. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. You were right there. I heard it. I just wanted to take the spotlight.
Got there at the same time, maybe even slightly before.
Lacking in social skills, and is basically obsessed with video games and anime. So
sounds like someone I know.
Right. And so it's kind of interesting because the otaku in the States is more pertaining to just like love of anime, but in Japan, like otaku is like sort of just like obsessive of any topic.
Yeah.
But the classic
any otapic
to consider yourself an otaku. So Luke, here's what you would have to do.
Okay.
And this is actually really relevant for the times we live in with the quarantine and whatever. If there's any group of people in the world who were like ready for the quarantine, it was the otakus, because basically A, you can never leave your apartment. B, you have to live alone. C, you can't have a job. And D, when you're not sleeping, you have to be watching lots and lots of anime.
100%.
And when you want to take breaks, so maybe when you're ordering food in, you can be on like message boards talking about you're arguing over who is best girl in Attack on Titan.
Perfect otaku.
Like so yes,
conversations there.
Yes.
Some of these are just like Japanese words, but if you watch a lot of shows that I do, they come up a lot. How about the classic Oni-chan?
Oni-chan?
Yep, Oni-chan. You hear this all the time.
It's
from
when
the
like you have.
emotos.
Oh, I see. Emoto.
Yep.
Oni-chan.
Yep.
It's like when you have a friend named John and they're trying to take something that belongs to you. You say, "No, I own Oni-chan. I own it, John. I own Oni-chan."
All right.
That's kind of cool. I don't know if I know this one.
Okay.
Is this like a not like senpai, but something close to that, male.
Yeah, I
something?
guess you could kind of. Yeah. You're on the right choice or on the right track. Oni-chan actually is the older brother. Yeah. And
There we go.
Imoto are the younger sisters. So that
There you
comes
go.
up often in my animes. And I only got 2 more for you, Luke. So you're
doing
on
good.
you're kind of you're
Rolling
almost there. These
deep in
are
the whammies right
also
now.
come up quite a bit. How about what's a lolly?
A lolly. A lollipop.
Sure.
A candy.
How about you, Jordan? You know what?
Is that the like stick candy thing that they always eat?
Like Pocky?
Or is that just referring to like the chibi type animation style?
No, lollies are people. So, but you're on the right track. It's this is the straight definition from Wikipedia.com. The slang term is defined as a young, underage female with a childlike appearance. It can also be described as a female who is of age, but still has a childlike appearance physically or the way that she dresses.
Oh, yeah.
So there
comes from
can
the
be
term
lollies that
Lolita.
are of age, but she is a
Important
400-year
distinction.
dragon. She may look like she's just a 10-year-old, but she's totally of age.
This is an
That's
important
very
distinction.
important when you're watching anime because you don't want to get messed up with the wrong lollies. You want to at least go.
You don't want to get your wires crossed. You want to
ones.
make sure that you're
she's at least 400 years old when
you're
you start
engaging in a waifu relationship with your best girl from your favorite anime that she is of age
Legally, yeah.
in the show.
Yep.
Well, doesn't that come
that's
from
very common?
And this is, I'm pretty sure that term lolly is short for Lolita because there was actually an old Stanley Kubrick movie about a romance it was based on a classic novel, but with a girl that was.
There he is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There he is.
I did
There's
it.
our boy.
I'm
There's
back.
our boy.
I'm back.
He contributed.
I'm alive.
You know about the young women that are, can sometimes be sexually attractive. So
yeah, I know all about that. Don't worry.
And the last term I have for you, Luke, I just got it's a tsundere. Sorry, I'm still probably pronouncing that. Tsundere.
I don't know this one. I don't know if I have like even a good guess for this one.
Tsundere.
Yeah, does that ring anything to you, Luke? I'm sure, Jordan, that you've seen it in a couple of your shows. But it's kind of
it's like isn't it when you
Japanese
watch
word, so.
Well, it's like when you watch a Blu-ray on Sunday, it's just tsundere. Right?
Right?
It's about if you can believe it, it's usually about female
Chosen
anime
one.
women again.
What?
Okay. I was gonna say like some sort of chosen one, which is usually not a bad guess when you're talking anime, but
yeah,
that was a great activity, Luke. I hope you were taking notes. It looked like you were diligently.
Yep.
I am on top of it.
Yeah.
Good.
Tsunderes are anime women that are usually initially cold, but gradually warm up to you eventually. But can also be very hostile. So if you flirt with them a little bit, they usually
respond with
you
violence.
actually see a couple tsunderes in Nichijou. If you do watch that, you'll know what I'm talking about.
I have it in.
She overreacts all the way, and she usually takes out machine guns and blasts people.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because there was a tsundere in one of the very few quote unquote real anime shows I've ever seen. And this, I'll explain it to you guys, and you guys can decide if you think it's real or if I'm making it up. But the title is called The Legend of the Legendary Heroes. And
it's not the worst title I've ever heard, but keep going.
That says a lot.
You think it's made up, but I honestly I think it's a real show.
But there's a guy, the main character, he has this, it's called the alpha stigma in his eyes, where it's like the Avatar, but every area has a different stigma that they can use to control something. Like some can throw rocks, some can shoot fireballs, whatever. But he has the alpha stigma, which means he can do all of it, and he kind of blacks out and OPs when he does it or whatever. Well,
Sure.
he can't control it. He loses his power. He gets arrested. He's in jail, and all he wants to do is take afternoon naps. That's all he wants to do. So he writes this whole long, huge manuscript about before he was going to get executed, just basically about like, you know, he's like, I would think that someone should go around and collect all these like objects, powerful objects, so that if one person controlled all the power, then no one would ever challenge them, and then everybody could just take afternoon naps all day. Well, then the king got a hold of that letter and sent him on a quest to collect all of these items, and he sent his daughter or sister, I don't remember, who was just so physically abusive to him, and she beat the shit out of him all the time and screamed at him and punched him, and the only thing that would like get her to focus was a certain type of Pocky from the Pocky stand in her hometown. So this one candy is all that she would do.
I'm really curious why this was the one show you chose to watch. Just like take me through. Was there like a situation, or like did you just like what was it on? Like what, or I don't like just take me through it.
It was probably 2014, and I don't know. It was on Netflix. It just possessed me. I don't know. I don't watch anime, but all of a sudden there I was sitting at my computer watching it, and I didn't think it was good, but I watched the whole. I don't even know if they made more than 1 or 2 seasons, but that's all that I watched.
And at that point, you never thought like, wow, like I was really grappled by that. Maybe there's something better out there, or you just
no. I just was kind of like,
that was it.
I was like, I think I get it. You know,
you get it.
That's enough for me.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I think you were at least close to a true student today, but I don't think you were 100% there yet.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm still. I feel like I have 1,000 questions, but
okay, great.
Just based off that story, it's sort of dumbfounding. But I get okay. So the other sort of thing I wanted to do is maybe give recommendations here. The first recommendation I kind of want to start with is a show that I have kind of a long history with, and embarrassingly, I have like maybe some of my criminally worst takes about. And granted, I never have bad takes. Like
no,
all my takes are good.
I've never heard a bad old legs take.
But this one was really bad, and so this take has to do with the show Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I was thinking about it as I was prepping for this podcast, and I was like, gosh, what do we want to talk about? And I sort of kept coming back to this show, and it's sort of fascinating because this is an old show. This is a boomer show. It came out in 1995. It's 26 episodes, and so it's not long. So there you go. It's right in your wheelhouse, Luke.
Okay.
But this is not the recommendation that I would give you, because I think it is perhaps one of the worst recommendations you could ever give to somebody that is just getting into anime in general. It is, when I watched it, I can't remember like the first time. I had to be maybe like a senior in high school or something like that. But I went all the way through. I read online. I was like, everyone's like, this is the best anime of all time, all this, yada, yada. And I went through it and I was like, wow, that sucked. That really sucked. I was not a fan. And it's really fascinating because it's a show that I sort of think like is maybe the start of anime. I don't know of any real shows. There's movies that came before it, but like series wise, like I'm not really interested in going farther back past it.
Sure.
And I didn't realize it at the time, because when I eventually came back to the series, and I've since then watched it again since it's come back on Netflix. Sorry, I've mentioned Netflix like a billion times, but it's just sort of always on at my house. But the second time, so at first I watched it, I think I don't know, I must have been in a weird headspace, or I was expecting some just kind of cool Gundam show, and that's not what it is. But
Mm-hmm.
upon rewatching it, I sort of realized that it's a show that kind of this dives into like a slice of life. Like it previous to this point, I feel like anime couldn't necessarily do all the things that we expect like normal television shows to do or film to do, where it's bringing up these really complex ideas and the characters in it are for the most part really unlikable, but it's because they have like true emotional problems. And so just to give like a broad synopsis of the show, it's basically there's three kids that are chosen to pilot these, you know, big Gundam mech looking things and fight angels that come down that want to kill humanity. Goes from there. But it's really fascinating because I really, really didn't connect with any of the characters in the show until I got older. And then even then, I was only really connecting with the adult characters, not the kids, but I could understand the kids having grown and matured. And so I just want to kind of wrap this up with, it's a fascinating show because I think each time I've come back to it, I've had a different experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, like when I was thinking about it yesterday, I'm like, wow, what do I want to talk about when it comes to Neon Genesis Evangelion? Because I honestly don't know. Like I don't know. If I were to have a conversation with somebody, I think the conversation could be really about anything, which is kind of unique for a show. Like I'll just like if we're gonna talk like a normal television, like we want to talk The Wire. Like The Wire is easy. I think it's the greatest show of all time, but I know exactly like the three talking points that we'll probably talk about when we're talking The Wire. You know, talk about Baltimore, you talk about the police, you talk about Omar, you talk about Bubbles. You know, there you go. You have a conversation.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like there's so many different things you could touch on. I mean, there's religion, faith, depression, nature versus nurture, the origin of life. I mean, I don't even know. There's, again, it feels like a thing where I'm just not even like really qualified to speak on it. And for the record, there's thousands and thousands of hours of YouTube of just people talking about the show. So I don't think there's anything new I could say to it, but I would say just for the anime fan out there, not the new anime fan, but the anime fan that's out there, that's established. If you haven't seen this show, go back, check it out, and just know that it's more than maybe you might expect from a traditional anime.
See, that is funny because I still have never dove into Evangelion yet. Because it's just never felt like, you know, with the synopsis and everything, and just knowing that a lot of, you know, places that I get my anime from have talked about it. It just seems like it's always been a show that I've never been fully ready to sit down and start analyzing, because
it's not a slice
I've
of life.
always heard it's a lot.
It is a lot,
at least.
I watched End of Evangelion.
It's spiking my interest, but you know, eventually here I might finally be seasoned enough to dive into it. But it's still, you know, has always kind of spooked me a little bit.
Right. I mean, yeah, just like getting prepared for this podcast, the one thing I did is I threw on End of Evangelion, which is sort of like it's the movie that comes after, but it's basically the last two episodes because they ran out of money. And so the last two episodes are like really like dreamy, sort of David Lynchian. And then, but you can't really tell. And I didn't know that like the first time I saw it, like I didn't like, oh man, this is like shitty. Like what happened here? But, so the movie, but I mean, to say that the movie's not trippy, it's like one of the most like bizarre and I don't even know, like just straight up nightmare fuel, hour and a half that you could think of. So that's my thing. Again, I just think it's interesting because it's so memorable for me, and the idea that every time I come back to it, I have different ideas about what the show is about. I still am not really sure. I watched End of Evangelion last night and I was like, I don't know. Like I guess we'll see in 4 years. Like, I'll come back to it, and it'll just be a new thing for me again, which I think is exciting. So, so that's my sort of like recommendation to the hardcore fan. I know it's like it's very like, oh, you recommended End of Evangelion, like good for you. It's like, you know, not much of like a sleeper pick, but there you go.
Yeah, there's this band called the Beatles that I really think you should check out.
The Beatles.
The Beatles.
Yeah, you know, on the topic of being generic, I might as well throw in one of my anime recommendations for someone that I think wants to get started or things like that. And it's probably just because that's where I started. But when I started Attack on Titan, all we had was the first season. And it was like, I can't remember, 6 years before anything else happened. And so, you know, it felt like a good jumping on point when there was only one season. Well, now you actually do have 3 seasons, and the 4th season is on its way, coming like next year. And so I honestly think that show is amazing. Obviously, it's massively popular, and the fan base is kind of split because a lot of people got pissed that we had to wait that long. But I honestly think as long as this last season doesn't, you know, somehow tank, that it, you know, it might be a classic. It's kind of hard to say a classic as of right now, but in like 20 years from now, I think people will look at that anime and actually think it was kind of a modern classic. So that'd be a good recommendation, I think, for anyone. But of course, you know, I think we both have a couple recommendations for people like Luke that we can jump into a little bit.
Yes.
More.
I want to touch a little bit on Attack on Titan because I am like pretty lukewarm on it. I've actually seen it all the way through, and I had to double check that I've seen all the way through because I've sort of yawned through some of the episodes, but I get the allure of it. I like the lore of the show and the world building, I think, more than I do the actual characters. And just the sort of like, there's like a rhythm to almost every conversation where like 2 characters will be very confrontational, and then the other one will start crying, and then the other one maybe starts crying because he finds out the other one has it worse than the other guy. And it's just like, it's like this sort of like misery porn that like they just kind of go back and forth, and it's like, who's had it worse? And
the whole thing is misery.
And there's no jokes. Like jokes have not been invented, or they have not been there's literally none. There's no comic relief. There's no Joey from Yu-Gi-Oh. There's no not agreed. Like, hope I get some good cards. Like, you know, there's none of that characters. Like, they all are so tragic. They've all had it so bad, and they're all so freaking serious. And
I think a lot of the times they give you, you know, a lot of that seriousness. It's still a roller coaster ride that of, you know, some plot points that it's just hard for me to stop watching. And so I don't know. I love it.
It's weird because
last couple seasons, it just kept me on that train, and I just was like, God dang it, I need the next episode. So, but you're definitely right. There's no comic relief.
I did not know why I kept watching, but I was like, oh, better fire up another one. And I'm like, I kept having to like check my pulse and be like, am I enjoying this? Like, I'm not sure. So, but again, this is, I had this almost the exact like knee-jerk reaction to Evangelion, and going back, like you said, in 20 years, like, who knows? We could go back and we could really like look differently at the show, or it could be appreciated, you know, for being as good as it is. But
didn't they try to make a live action movie or series of Attack on
everything
Titan?
that we've talked about? Yes.
Every single thing.
Yes.
I would like to see that. See, some of those are in English. That's kind of nice, right?
I don't think they made that one in English. In fact, I think that they would rather bury it. But
yeah, we'll get to live action remakes
in the next one
of anime series that we like. I have a lot of Death Note thoughts.
Well,
So,
Yeah, you could even. Have you
um,
ever seen the Dragon Ball Z live action?
and
Because I've only heard
yes,
about it
I
too,
will never.
and it sounds
yes,
pretty fun.
yes. Yeah, that's great. I like that you brought that one up because again, it is super popular and something that you could get into. And yeah, the weird storied history where it's taken a million years for it. I couldn't believe when I was looking some of this stuff up that's like that show started in like 2012 or something. It's like, geez.
Yeah, yeah,
So
2011, 2012 or something, and yeah, we waited forever for anything else. After that, I thought it was done. I for sure thought it was done, and then all of a sudden they just decided to keep going. So,
okay, so here we go. This is the time that you guys have all been waiting for. This is where we convert Luke. We put on our animal face masks. We're all sitting in our ritual circle here. We're we're at our eyes wide shut party, and we're gonna welcome you into the circle here. Okay, we're gonna welcome you into the circle of anime with these spot on recommendations that that you'll have no choice but to dive into. One Piece, Naruto. You can even multi-screen all of these shows so you can catch up with us.
all at once. Yeah.
You will be doing that here within a week. So my recommendation for you and for any anime fan who's looking to get into the genre would be it's intimidating because it is a very anime title, which I know would scare some people away, but it is a show called Puella Magi Madoka Magica.
Yeah, I'm already out.
And so this show is 12 episodes long, 22 minutes.
What?
Okay. It is a complete story. It has never been done again. It will never be done again. There's no sequels. And essentially it's telling what we would call a magical girl story. So this is like the Sailor Moon archetype, except it basically takes all of the tropes from that genre and it sort of flips it on their head. There's real stakes, and it's one of the, I don't know why, but it is absolutely stuck with me since whenever I watched it. I don't know, it's probably like 5 years ago from now, but that is my recommendation. I think if you get to episode 4 of Madoka and you can't commit from there, then maybe it's not for you. But I would also say that you're entitled to your own shitty opinions, and you're wrong. So I don't want to spoil too much about it, but the show is infinitely memeable. It has memorable characters. The characters have real stakes. And it does dive into like some of the weird kind of subgenres and like problems that some of these genres face, like the lolly thing that we talked about. Like Madoka is very much like lolly 12-year-old girl that's like just kind of running around and
not
like,
nice, Tyler.
like, are we nice?
Don't put that on audio. You don't want that. So, mute your mic if you're gonna say that.
Yeah. But there are, and I've honestly done this. I've introduced people to the genre with this show, and maybe they haven't watched anything else, but like you sit down and you watch it for 4 hours, and you're like, wow, that was a cool story. And I don't know, maybe it takes, maybe it doesn't. I recommend it. You think that it's one thing, but it's not. I was just like waiting for your reaction for like a stupid thing to say that, but you didn't do it. Okay.
No.
Well, I was attempting a joke there, but
yeah, I kind of.
That's my recommendation.
Interest. Okay.
I think Puella Magi Madoka Magica. It's one of my favorite animes of all time, and it is easily consumable. It's on Netflix, and all you have to do is give it a shot, okay, and just believe.
Honestly, that does sound pretty fun. I've been trying, I haven't dove into Sailor Moon yet, but I've always been interested. I want to get into a magic girl episode, which also sounds hilarious on audio. And so honestly, I think I might hop into that one myself too. But that is funny.
I would be really excited to hear your thoughts about it, because it is you do think that you're just like basically just getting like they intentionally lure you into thinking that, oh, this is like a Sailor Moon sort of thing. She's the chosen one. All she has to do is sign a contract and she can get these magical powers and she can kill the witches who are terrorizing her town. Sounds all great. And you might get to the point where you're like, oh my God, let's just get on with this. But you got to stick around for the full story. So I think it's really incredible. I cut you off there so you can keep going. But
yeah, it's funny that you had that for definition for your recommendation, because I think my recommendation too kind of defends a little bit of what I'm into, and it's in the slice of life category. But again, I think it's
what a shocker.
I honestly think of another really funny comedy that once I thought of Luke, I actually thought this might slip right into his taste as well. If I was to get him into watching some kind of a slice of life. And it even has a very good English name. It's called Love is War. And it deals with two we're in high school again, high school, a guy and a girl that are trying every trick in the book to try to get the other person to confess their love for each other. And so it's got these great narration scenes where the narrator is explaining like kind of the tricks that everyone is so trying to plot out and put the other person in a perspective to accept like going out for like lunch or something, but making the guy say, oh yeah, I do want to go out to lunch with you or something like that. But then of course they catch themselves, and then so they try to flip it on the other person. It just becomes this giant mind game back and forth of these two people with some side characters and everything, trying to get the other person to basically end goal say, you know, will you go out with me? And so right now it just started too. I think the series only ran 12 episodes long. It's either 12 or 24, but there is a second season on its way. So now's the jumping on point. So you can say, you know, there's no giant backlog yet. You can knock that one out. And then if you do like it, like I said, second season's coming like next year. I think it's a fantastic pick also just for the slice of life genre.
That sounds like a little bit like Luke's dating life, just the courtship process of
and that's all
of
it
just
is.
sub games and just tweets.
Well, I've told Luke, I told him I had something in my pocket for like a recommendation.
Yes,
and honestly, I've never wanted to bring it up.
I like it.
And I've just had it there just waiting. If for
you
some
have to
reason
watch
Luke
it. You
ever said, all right, I want to watch an anime, what do you recommend? And I would have just been like, boom,
Yes.
Luke, I've been holding on to this for a whole year. I just wanted to give it to you.
It's meant to be.
I think that'd be a great one, honestly, for you to get introduced to the slice of life.
If we think that like 900 episodes is too long of a backlog, then that's nothing compared to my turbulent love life. It's just
right.
I mean, it's way longer than that. It's ridiculous. Just stupid.
I think you'd get some enjoyment out of it. Maybe a little real life situations of feeling, but it's a solid choice there.
You know, I think that if anyone listens to this podcast, great. But
I don't know.
If Luke starts watching anime, if Luke not only watches it but buys a Mommy Tomi Senpai poster for his living room, then I think that we have achieved our goal here for today. So
that is the end goal.
So I have a little twist for you guys. To end it here. I actually have a recommendation for you two. anime
okay.
All right.
There's
Here we go.
There's 5 seasons of it, and it's kind
Lost.
of in like this. It's in like the superhero, I guess, category.
All right.
It's called Teen Titans. I might want to check that out. It's pretty fun.
Ah.
So on that note,
haven't heard of
yeah.
that one, okay.
it's really good. Yeah, it's kind of like you think of superheroes as like adults, but and it just flips it
But
on
they're
its head.
lollies. They're
Oh,
all
They're
lollies.
all, they're all
That's
lollies.
a
Yeah,
lolly
group
show.
of
Okay.
Lollies. Yeah.
Maybe that's your thing, Luke. Maybe that's your thing.
We
Yeah.
finally found it.
Be proud. It's cool to like anime. Anime is mainstream now.
It is massive.
It really is. It's okay. It's okay to like it. Okay?
You don't have to be ashamed.
Embrace
I
it.
will never admit that on recording ever, even if that.
We'll get you there.
All right. Well, hey, go out and watch Teen Titans. Tyler, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Burdettedog on Twitter. And yeah, if you click to it and you found the anime banner and the anime thumbnail, then you're in the right place.
Ooh, boom. Well, Old Legs likes to stay hidden, even though Tyler tried to out him here, tried to do a face reveal. But you can find me on Twitter at LukeLarson89. Find this podcast at L Squared Podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, or on Facebook at L2 Podcast. We're on Spotify. Hit us up. We actually have a new tier of the Patreon as well. Old Legs, if you wanted to maybe do a little shout out.
No, we're doing a magical girl cosplay. So you just submit your submissions for whatever you guys. If you want to see Luke dressing up as Sayaka,
I've been growing my hair out for a long time.
Or I mean, if you want to see Tyler do his best Mikasa cosplay, I mean, you're more than welcome. It's a higher level tier, but again, it is out there.
But you get what you pay for, though.
I'm not going to say that I don't have a Mommy Tomai cosplay ready to go, but it's out there. So again, listeners, just we're really excited about this, and we'll be back next week and for the next 10 weeks after. We're going to be doing an episode by episode breakdown of the One Piece, all of the tournament sagas. So not the entire 900 episodes, but just simply some of the highlights.
Like 15, at least. So.
Yeah, of course.
So
all right, well, hey, thanks for listening to us, and we'll see you in the next one.